Welcome to the Qualitox podcast. I'm Jan Kugler, your host and the director at Qualistory, where we provide public and private GMP training programs. My guest today is Suzzane Studinger. She is the director at QAS consultancy based in Basel. And today we're going to talk with her about general topics about the life of the consultants, the challenges and the issues around it, and about quality in general. So let's get to it. Suzanne, welcome to the Qualitox podcast. I am honored to have you on the show, and we want to talk about quality and consultancy in general in this podcast. So you're a consultant, you're based in Switzerland, and can you tell me a bit about your role before you switched to consultancy and then why you decided to do the move?
Good morning, Jan, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure on my side. Me as a consultant, before I became a consultant, I was in the pharmaceutical industry working for just one company, a big one, for 10 or 11 years, and I climbed up the quality ladder there. I started with software testing, actually, which is a quality activity already. From there, I was responsible for computer systems validation, and I became responsible for the entire quality management aspects of an entire group, then of an entire department. And well, after 10 or 11 years, I was sort of at the top where I could probably go within one company. And I wanted to see more. I wanted to do something else. I quit. I was thinking about doing something entirely different, just change my life again. But then, as always, well, there was no real quality plan in my life, even though I work in quality. However, I did some risk management. I assessed my personal risk of just doing something entirely different, and I decided, oh, no, too much risk. Let's do something to minimize the risk a bit. Well, what could I do? I could maybe do what I do best. Maybe I could do the same that I've been doing for this company for the last 11 years, but just like once a month or twice a month, just to have a basic income. Well, then I made one phone call. 2 hours later, I was a consultant working more than ever before. I worked 120 until up to 140, 150%. Till now, that was 10 years ago. That's my story.
So you wanted to change. So you quit before you had a plan, right? So really bold move. But I think it's something that many people maybe regret not doing because they're afraid. But it's really nice that you did it. And then you thought, okay, let me work a bit less, and then you discovered something a bit different.
That's it. Let's do something entirely different. And what I ended up is the same thing. However, and that's why I'm still doing it. I still really, really love it.
Yeah.
Being a consultant gives me the opportunity of having, albeit confidential, very close insight in very many companies. And that's probably also one of the biggest assets of consultants, is their knowledge about how others are doing it. And that's what we can bring in as a very strong asset to each of our clients.
Right. So I think it's one of the, the superpowers of the consultants. That's why I love bringing consultants to run training webinars or courses in my company, because, the enormous amount of knowledge that they bring, because they have seen so much, and this is what's the most important part in quality. So as you said, you worked in one company, and I see a lot of people work in one company for their whole career, and it's good, it's great if they fit in one corporate family, one corporate world. But if you want to learn more, it's always good to hear additional points of view and learn more. And each company is a world in itself, different people, different culture.
It's really like that. And speaking about it, I think the second most important aspect of a consultant is just the outside perspective. Nobody inside a company can have an outside perspective, but a consultant can. It's also a challenge because sometimes consultants work for a client for a year or longer, sometimes 3, 4, 5 days a week. That's where I have to say, stop, keep your distance. It's good to talk about we and not them, but keep the balance, keep your distance. Don't become one of the company because you will lose your outside view. And that's something very important for every project, every challenge, every problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a consultant needs to stay outside and make themselves not needed anymore. Mm-hmm. Do some knowledge transfer and then let the company and the clients run by themselves again, enable them to be able to do it by themselves.
So it's something that I think it's not easy sometimes to do, because from one point of view, some people may think, okay, if they don't need me anymore, then they don't need me anymore.
Next?
Then they just open the door, say thank you very much, goodbye, and then you need to run to your next project. But then it's the switch that you need to do, right? Because when you work, in a full-time employment, this is the other way around, because you're afraid not to be needed. Because if they don't need me, I'm redundant, they will fire me. So some people even try, to make sure that the work they do, nobody can replicate it, or they do something or they don't transfer the knowledge to others, because they think if they teach others to do it, it jeopardizes them.
You are right. There are consultant companies that work like that. I don't like them. I like the agile and the open source thinking, actually, and the sharing of knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part, basically. And this is a switch that you need to do. Okay, when you go there, you need to be like the most useful person as you can to this company, and really teach the people there also to do everything and that to bring knowledge there. So this is also the difference, and I've spoke about this with different consultants all over again, that there are sometimes companies that bring consultants, and because they don't want to share too much information, they lock the consultants in one room and try to keep them away from the employees, and don't talk to him, don't waste his time, he's pay, and they say to the so do this, and they tell the employees, don't go to them, don't interfere with their work, they are paid so much, just leave them alone, let them do the job. So, but this is the problem, right? So they need
That's one of the problems, and that's exactly also the difference between a contractor and the consultant. Yes, a contractor might just work down your backlogs, but a consultant, by definition, you have to share something with him in order for the consultant to be able to help you. Actually, I have an example from my past life now, from this life. It was a project. It was a large FDA pre-inspection preparation. And I worked for them for over a year, I think. Yeah, we had 18 months until FDA came in. Well, after 3 months, maybe 2.5, the head of IT compliance in those days, he came up to me and he said, Suzanne, congratulations. We did everything we could in order to hide our real problems from you. But you found them all. How did you do that? And I was like, oh my God, I paid to help
that's crazy.
You.
That's crazy. So they just, consider you as an auditor, and which is even worse, because I think, okay, if they try to hide everything from the person who they hire, to help them, what they're hiding from...
it's not really efficient. They treated me like an auditor.
Which is also a really interesting point of view, to sometimes to hide things, from auditors also, because I had also a fascinating discussion before with on another podcast where we said, okay, it's better to, reveal everything at once, just throw at them everything and show them, okay, we are on it, and then you break the wall and the person is already not after you. He is, he's disarmed, so he will commence in communication instead of, thinking, okay, what is he hiding from me?
Right. But as you said, it's always from the top down, actually.
Right.
These decisions are coming from top down. I have other experiences where top down told all the staff, hey, here's a consultant coming. We really need their help. Tell them everything. Be open. And then it was an easy game. Yeah. Then it was a real collaboration between me and the team there. Right. That was really nice. Yeah.
So do you have like your own way of doing or tips or something like a system when you come to new companies? How do you break the walls from your point of view? So I think it can be great for also new people in companies in the full-time employment, but maybe for consultants, is there any advice that you say, okay, when I come, I meet with the people and I say this and this, and it breaks the walls and it opens a whole new universe for me to work with? Or it depends on the company?
Of course, it always depends. And there's always the human factor that comes into it. So you have to... Let's start differently. Let's say you just gave me the right word. You said, how do you break the walls? I was thinking, you know what, Jan? Usually I'm not breaking walls, but I'm breaking the ice.
The ice, yeah. melting the ice.
Or melting the ice. But talking about walls, I've been in situations, somebody called me, actually more than once, where he said, we've had problems with the regulatory authorities for the past 5 years. And we paid horrible amounts of money to consultants to fix a problem. Can you have a look at it? And I had a look at it and I said, you have a big house. You have one little crack in one of your many windows. And all of the consultants before me, they said, we need to tear down the house. We need to make a plan and build a new building. And I'm like, no, you have a crack in one window. Let's just fix the window. So my advice is try to get the big picture. Try to get an overall view of the situation where you're being asked to have a look at. And then really make a risk-based assessment for yourself. What is really needed? Don't work according to any scheme that you've applied before. Maybe if it's the right fit, but maybe you're in a situation where you have to reinvent your own personal approach of how to solve the problems, because you're being sent into a situation that is new for you, and you have to respect that probably not everything is bad there because they've been in business for a number of years probably. So have a look at what's good as well when you're being called into a company, and then try to make your assessment. Try to fit pieces of the puzzle together after you gained an overview. But the most important thing, no matter what the assignment is, get an overview. Make an assessment of the situation. And sometimes this is very boring, but it's worth the work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, say...
A lot of lifting there.
A lot of lifting, a lot of... Jan, we talked about this before. It's a lot of where is the dirt? Where's the good stuff and where's the dirt? You have to find the dirt, and once you found it, then your task as a consultant is to give advice of how to get rid of the dirt without destroying the gold.
Right.
And then a lot of times they say, well, can you help us? We say, okay, here's my broom. Let's clean the mess. So oftentimes when people ask me, what are you actually doing? It sounds so complicated. There's all these laws and regulations, and then there's pharmaceutical processes and computerized systems and digitalization and this and that. I'm like, it's easy. I'm just a cleaning lady. I'm looking for the good stuff, and I'm looking for where there is dust and dirty spots and maybe something broken, and then we clean it up together. Yeah.
Right. So, as you said before, so I love this connotation that you said your job. So you're a cleaning lady. Basically, you come to places that need you, and then you clean the dust or remove the bodies. If you go to the higher, to something more drastic, but it's interesting that you are saying, okay, you need to to see how to keep the good stuff. So I've worked in a company where a consultancy came there, and it's a big consultancy, and they just brought a plug and play systems. Which so they basically what they did, they erased everything that the company did for a lot of time, and inserted a lot of plug and play systems which don't work together with the processes, and they did
that are in place already.
That are in place already. So they destroyed everything, and it didn't work well, and they did it only to to put some band-aid on the findings of the regulators, because the company was moving from ISO to GMP because they needed to sell products to USA, and suddenly it's a new environment, new world. And then they put these things only to please for a second the regulator that comes, but at the end everything comes down crashing on you, because nothing really works. It's just things that are empty shells. It's like SOPs without any content inside, nothing behind it. So I think it's one of the points, to choose the right consultancy for you. Right.
That's quite difficult to choose the right consultancy, and to get the feeling about, well, where is it the right quality, the right mix of quality, the right balance of quality and price. Because quality always has a business aspect as well, as everything does. And oftentimes I see that not the best decisions, not the most balanced, let's say, not the most balanced decisions are being taken, because short-sightedly, the manager says, oh, this is the cheapest offer, we'll go with this. To maybe a year later find out, oh, we spent a lot of money already, but maybe the problem didn't become smaller. Maybe, like you just said, Jan, in your example, maybe the problem even became bigger. So it is a difficult path to balance, and to not just be short-sighted and not be blinded by, oh, it's such a big and such a famous consultancy, they must be good. There's always a person behind every consultant. And inside every project team, there is people. So another very important aspect of the work of a consultant, as is within every company internal project, is the stakeholders. Identify the stakeholders and include the human factor of the stakeholders. Try to involve them as people, with their qualities, with their professional experience, but also with their personal characters. It's a balancing act, but the stakeholders and the involvement of all the stakeholders is very important. Those are some of my best experiences when I go into companies, is when I manage to say, okay, and for the kickoff, I would like to have a person from that department and somebody responsible for there and another person from that department. And then we sit together and I say, okay, let's do just a blunt, top-down, whatever comes to your mind, risk assessment. And I ask each of the workshop participants, what's your biggest pain? What's your biggest challenge? What's the most urgent problem you need to solve? And always, when I did this, I got the feedback like, gee, we have never been sitting together in this kind of combination. This was really great. It was an eye-opener. So yes, again, involvement of the stakeholders. Please do it and
Right.
think about everybody who's
Exactly.
needed. Yeah.
And this is with the hope that they trust you enough to share this information with you, right? At the end. And with hope, right? Because you said there
Right.
was, for example, a company that they wanted to hide everything from you for some crazy reason. So if you bring them to this table and ask them, okay, share your problems with me, they probably would be reluctant to do it. But that's the switch that companies need to do. And basically, if companies behave like this is I know, counterproductive. They just waste money. Why are they bringing you in to hide things from you? So this is
Right.
but is it like one company, or is it something common from your feeling that the companies actually try to hide things from you?
I don't think it's a company specific thing. I just encountered that here and there is people for, I don't know for what reasons, but there is people around who think, I don't know, like consultants are bad. There's things we should not tell them. And of course, there's things you should not tell the consultant. And I don't want to know everything. There's things that are really, really company confidential. And how should I tell it? I mean, also by profession, a consultant is working with a confidentiality agreement.
Right, so you have an agreement anyway, so you're not allowed to tell anything.
Right.
Well, sometimes maybe some companies, so the world is not pink, right? So there are companies for sure who hide criminal acts at the end. I'm sure of it, right? So it's not a secret, okay? Bad things happen, and some companies try to hide it, and it happens, and that's why the FDA sometimes is considered, to come down on companies and then consider each company as if they're detectives and try to find something. So they're not there actually only to help you, but sometimes also to hide, because there are cases, it happened. And for sure there are companies that may be hiding also some criminal activities, and they don't want you, of course, to find out, because then, a secrecy agreement or not, you're obligated to disclose it, to go to the authorities. But, so hopefully most of the companies don't do it. And if they don't have such problems, they should, become clean with everything, because you want them to help. You wanted them to help. But even I really hope that, that those companies really, with the criminal activities, I don't even know what to say about this issue. What can you tell about it if you hide things?
Jan, I think normally, as a quality consultant, you're not encountered with criminal activities, and as a quality consultant, even if you sort of think to smell something is wrong, that might go into something criminal, you need to lean back, make a risk assessment again, and say, okay, I'm here as a quality consultant. The goal is to be GMP or GXP compliant. What are the top priorities to be GXP compliant? It's patient risk and product quality.
Right.
So keep that in mind, and don't try to solve problems that are none of your business, actually. That's just another aspect of being confidential.
Right. Yeah. So you come there to solve what they pay you for. Right. Yeah, of course. So, but also when I say criminal activity, so it's not like they're going around shooting people, right? So the point is, it's things like releasing batches which you clearly know are not fitting to be released, and things that you know that you shouldn't have done, Yes. So it's something that you do without risk assessment, and you basically know there is like huge chance that somebody may die because of it, or criminal activity. It's not even somebody dies from it, but you go knowingly against regulations, which is already some kind of
Absolutely.
criminal activities in the
Absolutely.
end.
We've encountered cases like that. And if you encounter a case like that, I think it's your duty as a consultant to say, listen, it's your responsibility and you will take the decision eventually. But if you choose A and not B, you are in danger. You are acting against the law. That's our role as consultants.
Right.
Sometimes we have to be strict, yeah.
Exactly. That's right. So from the quality point of view, right? So we talked about cost of quality, and this is really cool because we also have a webinar next in May about the cost of quality, and it will be hosted by Yuval Shapiro. He's a black belt Sigma. Six Sigma, and it's really interesting because I really wanted to host this webinar because I think that many quality people are, let's say, quality oriented. Okay, they're quality oriented, but they don't think about the stakeholders, and they don't think about, they don't know how to represent the value that they bring to the organization, right? So so I've encountered this also a lot, where heads of quality needed to get budgets for another more personnel. They needed budget for that, for a new system, for to replace paper-based system to a better electronic one, for example. And then they need to come and say, we need to go with this option or this option. But why? Yeah, because it's comfortable for us. I know it's good. But how do you calculate the value of it? You know. So I think every quality personnel should know to go and use these Six Sigma, techniques to really show your value.
Yes.
So have you encountered something? Have you worked with such techniques yourself? Or
I'm not a black belt.
Yeah.
I know a lot of techniques. I teach myself a lot. I'm somebody
Right.
who I don't know, for years and years, if not decades, I go through the internet and I'm hungry for information.
Yeah.
So I teach myself a lot. I network with black belts, so it's sharing knowledge between what do I know, what do other people know.
Yeah. So you don't need to know any. Sometimes this is the idea that. In our world of information, the beauty, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to search or where to reach.
Absolutely.
You need to know, okay, this exists. I will talk to this guy, or I will search this, or I will pull out this information to apply this. So I think this is something, it's a power that, people didn't have like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, I have to think about a few minutes ago, you were talking about an example from your old company where you had a big consulting firm coming in and they installed plugins and systems and this and that. But the processes weren't right anymore after that. It's just the puzzles didn't fit together.
Right. We needed to correct everything. So the point is, after this consultancy came, they needed to hire an internal QA team to build one from scratch, and then we needed and then we came, we came with the broom at the end.
Right. That's the connection that I just made. So in this example, the external consultants that you called in initially, they did not a cleaning job. They sort of tore down the house and tried to build a new one. Yeah.
And just turned down the house and ran away or something like this, or or didn't leave you the instructions how to use it, or you installed something, then you don't have the instructions how to use it.
Whereas normally, I don't know, a cleaning person is not necessarily exchanging your furniture. They're not throwing out your furniture and buying new one. No. But what I do see in this example is that you said, well, this external company, they brought in technology. And that's, I think, another very important aspect about quality assurance work in general and the work of consultants. We do a lot of manual labor. We all use lots of big, very complex, complicated Excel sheets to do our assessments. And we all know how we who work in quality, how horrible it is and how almost impossible to validate an Excel sheet. But we do not validate our own Excel sheets when we do our assessments. And it's so outdated in my view. I think, yes, more tools, more digitalization.
Right.
Absolutely, we need to get there.
Right.
But we have to be careful.
Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't bring any tools. They just
Okay.
brought in plug and play SOPs, without any tools or without any systems.
Okay.
So they just brought their own SOPs about different activities. They brought in a documentation system, which doesn't come together, and it was a complete mess, and things like that, So it would be nice if they had brought some systems with them, or some electronic systems to back it up, but it was not the case, for example.
Not. I mean, even though we all know it as well, if we don't know all the stakeholders, if we haven't talked to them, if we don't really know the processes, then no tool in the world can help you.
No.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you said, and what we talked about, choosing the right consultancy, and and the knowledge, because the problem was there. So after they went, the management hired a new QA team, internal, and also brought independent consultants already, not a company, but independent one, which are really strong in some specific activities.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, right? So the idea of picking the right personnel for the right activities, and sometimes even big consultancy company doesn't have the right people to facilitate it, because I think also many of the big consultancies, how they work, they don't usually hire people with 20, 30 years of experience. They bring people from the university, which just go and they train them on the job. So I know it also from another company. And so there was a consultancy, also a big one, and they had a few people that are a lot of time in the industry, but they brought, graduates just to follow them, learn the stuff, and then just continue to each other company. So basically they also, building new consultants with maybe not enough proper knowledge from real hands-on work as an employee inside the company.
Yeah.
And this is something different from someone like you who worked 10 years here and 10 there, and so on and so on. So you really, you worked many years with some specific areas, and you know how politics works in such companies, and what to look at. And this is something that you can only learn if you really work full-time at some companies.
Right. Nothing against younger consultants that are not so experienced. Really, no, because they have to find a place to learn stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that it's, I think it's great that they have the opportunity. I don't know if I would love it from the point of view, but I think I would prefer, to take the path that I did, and maybe later, move to this area.
Absolutely. Me too. Because most of the time, a company really needs, as you said in the beginning, this outside view, this outside perspective, and an outside perspective assessment, and then good advice.
Right.
And then the rest of the job, many times, they can do it with internal stuff. They have internal QA people or other people who know how to write an SOP. Let them do that. Let them do the learning curve themselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. So this is a good point about it. So do you have anything else that you think it's important to add about choosing the consultancy, or advice about, quality sweeping, finding the dust to sweep?
Finding the dust to sweep. Well, it's just a personal little project that I'm working on that I'd like to share. because yes, my topic is to clean the dust and the dirt away. And my topic is also, we heard it now, I shared it, try not to be too invasive. Be invasive only where it's really needed. Get to know the stakeholders and the processes and respect the gold that's already there. But also, as I said before, I'm really in favor of new technologies and of digitalization. So personally, I'm working on replacing my broom with a really good robotic vacuum cleaner. That's my personal real project that I'm actually working on with some technically skilled friends and colleagues of mine. And we try to develop a tool that is not invasive, but that will actually help companies internally as well as consultants to do their assessments, to actually get the picture, get a comprehensive overview that is not a very complicated table, that is actually a graphic depiction of, oh, here's my situation. I have never seen it like this. I like to work visually anyway when I present assessment results, even though I don't have my nice vacuum cleaner yet. But when I do present assessment results, I don't go through lists with my customers. I give them visual representations because I believe, might be wrong, but in my view, it's easier for the human being to grasp things and understand things when they get a picture of it, a visual representation of it. That's maybe another advice to consultants to end this very nice talk. Consultants do have the freedom, and I ask them, allow yourself to take that freedom, be a little bit creative, try to get away from Excel sheet thinking, try to get away from list thinking, because we all fall asleep when we see too many lists and we don't see the point anymore. Try to find a way to present your results and even your thoughts in a visually attractive way. That's it.
Right. So, it's the art at the end of data presentation. So you need to collect the data and present the right points of it. So I really like the idea of your endeavor and your project. And you also told me about it earlier, and I think it's amazing, a software that can harmonize every systems and bring all the data from all the systems that you have to one place, help you sort for the problems, save countless hours of time, and I hope that it really pans out at the end, right? So cool. So good luck with that. And before we finalize, maybe we can also announce that soon we will also launch a webinar together on the topic of access management.
Another really interesting topic. I mean, it's sort of a niche within quality assurance. And it sounds boring to start with, but it's not at all. It's so up to date. It's so important. And the more digitalization we have, and the more applications and data we have in SaaS solutions. Think about cybersecurity. Think about the big, real risks of every company in the current time. It's cybersecurity, and access management is a main point of this. Yeah.
Right. So what will you teach in one sentence or a couple of sentences in this webinar so people can prepare themselves?
It will be about the philosophy of it. What's important? What to look for? It will be about how to get to the right process, because you might be regulated by GMP and data integrity regulations. You might also be regulated by ISO 27000. And you have to find the right path between them. But I also will bring very, very current topics that are really technical. What are the pitfalls within cloud solutions nowadays? So there will be some technical aspects as well, just to bring you some current knowledge. Yeah.
Sounds really interesting, and I'm already keen, to get my hands on this information and, build this slide deck for this and bring it to the people, because I think this knowledge is really interesting and fascinating. So everything that I host and bring it something that I genuinely find fascinating and interesting and love to hear about. So I'm looking forward to run this webinar with you soon. So
Well,
Suzanne,
me too. Looking forward to the collaboration. Fun to work with you, Jan.
perfect.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So thank you again for this cool talk. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Okay. Bye, Jan. Ciao.